Hello friends, today is the third session on civil engineering basics. Yesterday we have been telling about the land, one of the two elements, major elements of civil engineering practice. I think there seems a doubt that there are so many forms made of clay, such as clay pot. Brick is made of clay. So, can we say that clay is not suitable for civil engineering practice? That's a genuine doubt. But that clay is having, it is a very expansive soil. It's a difficult soil. It's a tough soil. Here we mean that this difficult, expansive clay, that is, in the presence of water, it will swell, it will expand. And in the absence of water, it will shrink, So this alternative expansion and shrinking is not suitable to take care of the load. Because load means in civil engineering structures you have tons and tons of load coming on the soil. At that context, we are telling that the clay is not suitable to bear this load because the technical term there is called the bearing capacity of the soil. Bearing capacity means the load bearing capacity. Clay is having a very poor load bearing capacity, whereas sand, especially when it is confined, it will have very good load bearing capacity. Sand takes more load. So structures can stand comfortably on sand, whereas structures cannot stand comfortably on clay. Clay cannot give a safe platform to take care of the load, whereas sand can. So at that context, I had told you, but if I say the civil engineering practice in general, that the doubt of the student is very genuine. Clay has to be reclaimed. You have to take effort to reclaim clay, strengthen clay, technically known as stabilization of clay. You have soil stabilization methods, different types of methods, manual, mechanical methods, chemical methods. You've got additives, additives. You have a lot of methods or a combination of these. Only after strengthening the clay, stabilizing the clay, we can load the clay platform. You will have clay materials. Clay as a material, you can make a component. For example, a clay pot. Clay is nothing but ceramic. The teacup. You take it, it's a ceramics. All ceramics are nothing but clay. You have a specific type of clay known as China clay. Dishes, you have ceramics. They are all components. They cannot be called as structures. They are just components. These components are made after making clay suitable for making that pot. You have to bake the clay to make clay pots. Baking means it involves a lot of energy. A clay pot, usually the pottery, brick for example, brick is a good example of clay material. It's a ceramic material. tiles. It's a ceramic material. But lot of energy is used to make it strong to the required amount, stiff. To make it strong and stiff, we have to impart a lot of heat energy. You have to prepare the clay. There are a lot of processes involved, such as clay. It should be, you have to clean the topsoil, take the soil just below the ground. Then you should dry it properly. You should sieve it. You should remove the debris. Then you should put sufficient water, add sufficient water. Go on puddling on the clay, manually or mechanically. Puddling, then you have to knead, K-N-E-A-D-I-N-G, kneading the clay. Puddling, kneading. Then you have to tamp, go on tamping the clay. Then you have to mold the clay. Clay modeling, you have heard. Mold the clay, then burn the clay. In clay modeling, you may not be doing in certain cases. But usually, to make it strong, durable, and stiff, you may have to burn. The place where these clay products are burned are called clamp, C-L-A-M-P, clamp, or kin, K-I-N, kin. Nowadays, that industry, the clay industry, tiles, clay, all that industry are sick industries because new generation materials have come in the construction field. We will continue this when we come to the construction part of it. Now we are telling in general the civil engineering practices. So we will go back to land. Okay. Then another type of land is called the wet and dry land. Wet and dry land. Wet land means the land is damp. There will be water content, more water in the soil of that land comprises wet soil. A land which comprises dry sample, then it is called a dry land. For a depth below the surface, for a considerable depth, if the land is dry, then it is called a dry land. For a considerable depth, the land near the surface, if it is wet or damp or watery, then it is called a wetland. Usually agriculture lands are wetlands. And the places where you construct structures and buildings are on dry lands. So there is a land use practice. Each country in general and each state in particular will have a land use act. In Kerala, it is called Kerala KLU, Kerala Land Use Act. So, whenever a person wants to construct a building or a structure in a land, it should be as per the Kerala Land Use Act, KLU Act. It will be amended and modified whenever it is required. So, KLU defines land, demarcate land as wet land and dry land. Nilam, Parambar. Usually, buildings and structures will be allowed on Parambar, on dry lands, because the wetlands are used for farming or agriculture. That is another classification of land. Then the land which is totally flooded with water, such as in Kutanad. For example, you have land in Kutanad is a very delicate thing. The people in Kutanad, if you see, they are in a hell of a life because The total land is flooded with water. There is land, but it is completely covered with water layer. It is called waterlogged land. Waterlogged land. Because they are almost or even below the sea level. So always the level, because of the gravity, there the water will come and touch the ground or be above the ground. Especially during rainy season, it will be miserable. And that is in terms of the groundwater. When the groundwater level is near the topsoil, near the surface of the land, then the land is told as waterlogged. During monsoons and during heavy floods, it will be near, and whenever the temperature increases, whenever the monsoon is reducing, whenever you have summer, or whenever you have hot weather, the table will go down. Just like in our open well, you see more water during rainy season. During summer season, you see the water will go deep. That is because in the soil, the level of the water going on reducing whenever summer comes in. And that table is called water table. When the water table is going very, very, very low, then it is called groundwater table. Groundwater table. So when the groundwater table is very low, the elevation of the groundwater table is very low, you will not have water in the open wells. Open well cannot feed you water. At that time, you go for bore wells, deep wells. Deep wells are called bore wells. You may have to go deep, below the rock. Deep wells, you have to go on 200 feet, 300 feet, 400 feet below a casing. Then you penetrate the rock and try to take out water, extract water from the deep groundwater table. That is another layer below the rock. It is actually a reserve, but we have started using the reserve now. You just dig the rock, go into it, suck the water, take it out. The quality of water in an open well and a bore well is different. That is another aspect of civil engineering. We will come to that later if time permits, not now. We are in the initial stage. So bore well and open well are two categories. And they are all with land related. When the land is wet, easily you will get open wells will have more water. You can draw water through open well. When a land is dry, too, open wells will help you to a great extent. That around 30 feet or 40 feet or 50 feet, you can have a deep open well, you'll get it. But there are certain areas where the groundwater level is so depressed, so down, where you can have water only by piercing into the rock strata, then take out water by pressure, by heavy pressure. That is called borewell. So that is also another aspect of water availability on lands. Groundwater, open well. So you should use heavy pressure to pump out the bore water. And you can drag or use an ordinary compressor or ordinary pump, centrifugal pump or a reciprocating pump. Usually centrifugal pumps are used to draw water from open well. Or you can use a pulley, and it will be an exercise also. You can take water from the open well. That is another wet land and dry land. So today let us stop because it is already 15 minutes. We have kept a time schedule as 15 minutes a day. So thank you very much. God bless.